transmigrated into a brainless, multi-male lead novel that abuses female characters. I became the remarried mother of the female lead with a daughter in tow. On the first night of the marriage, the husband sneaked into the female lead's room, ignoring her tearful pleas of fear. He coaxed her in a low voice. Be good, endure it a little longer. I just like you, endure my ass. I kicked the door open and slapped him across the face. Didn't you hear her say she was scared? She's just a child. I'm not wrong, the female lead is not even 14 yet. What a child. It only occurred to me after I kicked him. In the original story, Charles, the mafia boss obsessed with love for the female lead's mother, is one of the 3 male protagonists in the story. He married the female lead's mother not out of love, it was purely out of lust for her underage daughter. Looking at the girl hiding behind me with red, tear-filled eyes, I couldn't help but frown. 14 years old, a minor, how dare he? I regret it. I should have used more force and kicked him unconscious, instead of like now, where he still has the strength to cover his lower body and threaten, Linda, I will definitely kill you, Linda, the name of the original owner, but what does that have to do with me? I'm not Linda. Besides, as someone who's already died once, would I be afraid of death? Not only am I not afraid, I even want to go crazy. Before you kill me, I'll send you on your way first. I raised my foot and, taking advantage of his slow reaction, gave him another fierce kick. He let out a final, mournful cry before falling silent. Good, he's unconscious this time. The female lead is terrified. She's crying so hard she can barely catch her breath. She truly lives up to being the female lead, even at 14, when her features hadn't fully developed. One could already glimpse the breathtaking beauty she would possess in the future. Look at how pitifully she's crying. It's enough to melt anyone's heart. Not just men, even I feel my heart ache for her. She was probably scared, crying in hiccups, like a child who had done something wrong. She timidly hung her head, not daring to look at me. Mom, I'm sorry. Uncle asked me to play a game with him and told me not to tell you, saying you don't like naughty kids. A single mom suddenly reminded me of my younger sister, who is 8 years my junior, looking at Sophia, who is about the same age as my sister. My heart felt as if it had been wrenched violently. I've read the original work and know it's a multi-male lead angst novel, though labeled as angst. In my view, it's just mindless female suffering. To torture the female lead Sophia, the author arranged every possible misery for her. For example, a cold and heartless mother. For example, a stepfather worse than a beast. In the original work, the female lead's mother was driven mad by love, knowing full well that Charles was a pervert. Yet turning a blind eye to his behavior, even indulging it, this made the already tragic heroine, who had a miserable childhood, grow up with low self-esteem, social withdrawal, timidity, and a lack of love, gradually distorting her values. It led her to stubbornly cling to the slightest bit of pity, mistaking it for their way of loving her, even when she was later framed, humiliated, and subjected to physical and emotional torment. What a load of crap. Love, my ass. I really wanted to complain when I was reading the book. Author, don't be too ridiculous. Okay, knowing the plot is one thing, seeing it with your own eyes is another. How helpless must such a young child be, to apologize first instead of crying for help. Seeing Sophia with her eyes red from crying, I couldn't help but feel a pang of heartache. Muttering, stupid setup, under my breath still didn't relieve my anger, so I checked her entire body. Only after confirming she hadn't been harmed did I straighten her disheveled clothes, my expression solemn. Good daughter, remember, it's this kind of scum who's wrong, not you. Molesting a minor is punishable by imprisonment for up to 5 years. You must trust the police. If you encounter such a situation again in the future, be sure to report it immediately. Safety education starts from childhood. A 14-year-old is still a child, and it's not too late. Sophia was stunned. As if hearing these words for the first time, her big eyes held a small trace of confusion and bewilderment. It was as if a new world had opened before her, with a faint glimmer of light shining in her eyes. Should we call the police now? I glanced at Charles, who was unconscious on the ground, recalling his underworld identity in the original story, where he wielded immense power and influence in City A. I decisively shook my head. Not yet, let's leave here first, at any time. The most important thing is to ensure your own safety first. I escaped with Sophia. Before fleeing, I used my knowledge from the original story to open the safe in Charles's room and took the criminal evidence he had hidden inside. Once I confirmed our safety, I handed all the evidence over to the police. The police officers worked with great efficiency and quickly apprehended him. He was sentenced to life imprisonment with the combined penalties for multiple crimes and deprived of political rights for life. Not only did I annul the marriage, but I also received an award for my meritorious reporting. The prize money wasn't much, but it was a Medal of Honor. I rolled up the banner and stuffed it and the bonus into my suitcase. I quickly handled Sophia's transfer procedures. I took her away from the setting of this abusive novel, enrolled her in the best junior high school in C City, and signed her up for 4 years of martial arts classes in one go. In my free time on weekends, I also took her to the city library. Books like 16 Talks on Family Sex Education, Growing Up and Sex, and Giving Children Good Sex Education come one after another, paired with a complete set of criminal law. The main goal is to establish the right values in kids, raising them to be morally upright and exemplary youths. The good thing is, although this is a fictional world, time doesn't just serve the plot, except for Charles, who is quite abnormal and appeared relatively early. The other two first appeared during university. The female lead is only in her second year of middle school now. There's still at least 5 years of buffer time. 5 years passed by in a flash, after the college entrance exam. Sophia didn't follow the original plot to attend university in City A. Instead, she chose to enroll at the police university in City B. On the day of her departure, I held her hand and spoke earnestly. Let me say it again. Studying isn't about repaying anyone, but about giving you the confidence to choose the life you want. She held my hand, her eyes no longer showing the timidity of years past. Don't worry, Mom. I'll study hard and become a police officer who punishes the wicked and eliminates evil. Though she said this, I knew, this is the world of fiction. Even though she has already avoided the original plot, those men would still cling to her like stink bugs drawn to nectar. I wasn't quite at ease, secretly counting down the time. On the day before Howard, the heir of C City's wealthiest family and the male lead in the original story, fell in love with Sophia at first sight and forcibly took her away. I boarded a plane to B City. I didn't call her. Instead, I quietly found the place where she was working part-time and secretly followed her. Sure enough, as she was carrying a stack of flyers through a sparsely populated area, she was suddenly blocked by a black Maybach. The car door opened, and 2 burly men in black suits got out. Without saying a word, they dragged Sophia into the car. My heart leaped into my throat, although I knew that the child's future path would have to be walked alone. And I couldn't help her forever. Now was the perfect time to test what she had learned, but I still instinctively wanted to rush over. However, just as I was about to charge forward, the female lead, who was originally portrayed as delicate and easily pushed over in the novel, suddenly raised her foot and effortlessly kicked 2 burly men flying. Then she assumed a defensive stance and shouted at the person in the car, I saw your face. Article 240 of the criminal law stipulates that using violence or coercion to abduct and sell women shall be punishable by fixed-term imprisonment of not less than 5 years but not more than 10 years. You used violence and coercion against me. My current actions constitute justifiable defense. Her shout was full of authority. It successfully made the leg that had just stepped out of the car silently retreat back inside. Howard probably never expected that the female lead was far from being an easy target to push around. After a brief standoff with her across the car door, he actually called those 2 burly men, who were still clutching their stomachs and moaning, to get in the car, then drove off in a huff. Watching the car disappear into the distance, the heavy weight in my heart finally lifted halfway. I felt both relieved and proud that sending her to learn martial arts all those years ago had been such a wise decision. She sighed again, thinking that the wall full of gold medals at home wasn't won in vain after all. Originally, I had been constantly worried, would sending her to learn martial arts and cramming her with sex education turn out to be futile efforts. After all, I've only been here for 5 years. For the previous 14 years, she had missed out on too much love and education. She also worried that no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't defy the original plot. But so far, so good. Her sense of vigilance is strong. At the very least, she remembers the principle, when you're out and about, always be wary of strangers. Although Howard got off to a bad start, given the original story setting where he had never failed to get anything he wanted since childhood, I guess he would never give up so easily. In the original story, he donated money to the heroine's school to pressure her through the school, spent money again to win over the people around the female lead, had those classmates create opportunities for him, time and time again. generous he was, yet not a single penny was spent on the female lead herself, and he even justified it with, "What I love is that she doesn't care for my money." What era is this? Still using money as the standard to measure whether someone loves you or not. I don't quite understand this setup, and I know he's bound to cause more trouble, but now, donating to the school and winning over classmates are out of the question. After all, Sophia's current school is state-affiliated. The students inside are all promising future police officers who will combat crime. If he dares to donate and bribe, the school and students will dare to investigate. I suspect that if the school route is blocked, the only opportunity he can find is to win over the few staff members at the cafe where Sophia works part-time. Sure enough, that very evening, I called Sophia. Just listened to her say that on the weekend evening, she was going to attend a gathering organized by her colleagues. The location of the gathering was chosen on the famous KTV street in City B. On the day of the gathering, I rented a car early and staked out nearby. In the evening, I watched as several girls, surrounding Sophia, entered one of the KTVs. Before 12 o'clock, they helped her out again. Barely conscious, she was ushered into a black luxury car. I didn't rush forward or alert anyone. I just followed at a steady pace, trailing them as they drove into a high-end hotel. This is Howard's own hotel, in the original work, to showcase the wealth of the Wilson family. When introducing him, it was said that this hotel chain is spread all over the country. The top floor of every hotel belongs exclusively to him. Watching several men in black suits carry Sophia out of the car, enter the passcode, and take the private elevator to the top floor, I quickly followed them, with the original work as my cheat sheet. The passcode was no challenge for me. I made it all the way to the top floor without any obstacles. The door wasn't even open yet when Sophia's weak struggles could be heard from inside. "Get out, don't touch me, don't be scared, baby, I'll make sure you feel good." Howard's voice was just as arrogant as the man himself. His words had barely faded when suddenly, a dull thud came from inside. In the struggle, Sophia seemed to have fallen, her voice trembling with pain. You're in cahoots with them." She finally realized. She had been betrayed by someone she trusted. I couldn't hold back any longer, entered the password, and kicked the door open. When I grabbed the vase and charged in, he hadn't finished speaking. One of his hands was gripping the neck of Sophia, whose clothes were in disarray, while the other was caressing her face, and in each of the room's four corners stood a high-definition camera. The red light flashing indicates that these machines are in operation. The sight before me stung my eyes. Anger surged within me, and taking advantage of his momentary daze, I kicked him in the shoulder, grimacing in pain. He pointed at me and began to curse loudly. "Who are you? Who let you in?" I couldn't be bothered to argue with him, so I raised the vase in my hand and smashed it on his back. "Who am I? I'm her mother. The facts prove that you shouldn't act like a scumbag young master, living a life of luxury with nothing but dirty thoughts in mind. In the end, you won't even be able to lift a vase." Only after confirming Howard was truly unconscious did I hurriedly help Sophia up. At this moment, she finally snapped out of her terrified daze. She threw herself into my arms, crying like a 3-year-old child. "Mom, I was so scared. I thought I wouldn't make it today." My heart tightened. I felt both lingering fear and relief. I was afraid that my deliberate delay until now might have caused her psychological trauma, yet I also felt fortunate that I had barged in at just the right moment. "This isn't the time to cry, let's get out of here first." Still seething, I gave the person on the ground another kick before trying to help her leave this dangerous place, but was interrupted by her sobbing. "Wait." She looked at the 4 still running cameras with fierce and determined eyes. "Here lies the evidence of his crime." Indeed, the original work mentioned that Howard would record videos every time he forcibly took what he wanted from the female lead. In the early stages, he would always use these videos to threaten her. Fearing the exposure of the videos, the female lead had no choice but to compromise repeatedly, leaving her physically and mentally exhausted. When I first read this novel, I couldn't quite understand it. Such scum. Why can they still rely on chasing their wife to the crematorium and a devoted persona to whitewash themselves in the end? Any girl with a correct moral compass and the ability to distinguish right from wrong shouldn't soften her heart and forgive such scum who has hurt her, right? Later, I understood. You can't apply logic to a shamelessly abusive and steamy novel. Leaving the hotel, on the way to the police station, Sophia had already finished crying. She hung her head, clutching those memory cards, pressing her lips together without saying a word, looking at her swollen, red eyes. My heart ached with sorrow. after some thought, I decided to break the silence first. Today, I saw your colleagues discussing mixing something into your drink. Hearing this, she finally reacted, turning her head to look at me. Her eyes slightly widened. You knew, then why didn't you tell me earlier? Her tone carried no accusation or suspicion. Yet I could still detect a hint of grievance. I averted my gaze, avoiding her wounded expression, and sighed softly before speaking in a gentler voice. Even if I tell you this once, what about the next time? Malicious pests will find every crack to exploit, but I can't possibly stumble upon them every time by coincidence, nor can I protect you forever. I was indeed deliberately stalling for time, waiting for her to wake up. I also genuinely harbored the thought of waiting to see if she could try to extricate herself from danger on her own, because I wanted to take this opportunity to teach her how to recognize danger, to learn how to stay calm in perilous situations and figure out ways to protect herself. Over these 5 years, I've instilled a lot of safety awareness in her, but in the end, those were just dry theories. When someone is truly in danger, they can't recall theoretical knowledge. Only by staying calm enough is there a possibility of self-rescue. I am fully aware that my actions may seem cruel and extreme, but the way this world is set up has never been fair to her. People with ulterior motives could appear at any moment, yet, I don't have much time left, in the original story, to drive the plot forward. I, the female lead's mother, would exit the story during her sophomore year of college. Now, there's less than a year left before my exit. I've protected her for 5 years. But I can't protect her for the rest of her life. I could only find a way to make her learn to shelter herself from the wind and rain. I thought I could harden my heart and wait for her to find a way to save herself. But in the end, concern breeds chaos. Watching Sophia's eyes well up with tears again, I couldn't help but sigh softly. I want you to understand that while you should never harbor ill intentions towards others, you must always remain vigilant. Nowadays, over 80% of homicide cases are committed by acquaintances. You may know some self-defense techniques, but these criminals have countless ways to render you helpless. So what you need to be wary of isn't just strangers. Even with those you think you know well, you should maintain your boundaries and always keep a hint of caution. Upon hearing this, Sophia replied with a heavy nasal tone in her voice. What if I just can't find out? Or, what if I do find out? But still can't resist, looking at the girl before me, whom I've raised for 5 years and who has now blossomed into a graceful young woman. A pang of sorrow welled up in my heart. So, besides staying vigilant at all times, you also need to remain calm. When you're in danger, calm down and analyze the situation. Only then will you have a chance to find a way to save yourself. But if, after trying, you find you still can't escape and there's nothing you can do, then, don't resist. Do nothing. I sighed softly, took a prepared small box from my bag, and slipped it into her hand. At that point, what you need to do is ensure your personal safety and protect yourself from greater harm. Report to the police promptly afterward for evidence collection and medical examination, then actively seek psychological counseling and treatment to overcome this shadow. Live well. That's the most important thing. These words, entirely different from the safety awareness advice given before, carried a certain weight. She remained listless all the way until entering the police station to give a statement and completing the injury assessment with the officers. I didn't send her back to school but took her to the temporary rental apartment I had, then asked for a few days' leave on her behalf. Originally, I thought letting her rest quietly for a couple of days would help ease her emotions, but early the next morning, I received a call from the police station. The young policewoman concealed her concern. Howard claimed he had no idea why Sophia was in his bed. He thought it was just another woman throwing herself at him to curry favor, so he didn't take it seriously. Instead, he accused us of illegally breaking into his home and claimed he lost jewelry worth millions. The trouble is, in the memory card we submitted yesterday, at the beginning of the video, Howard's surprised expression and his muttering to himself confirmed his statement. No traces of prohibited substances were detected in the blood samples taken from Sophia. Even the colleagues who gave Sophia the spiked drink and put her in the car all gave the same account, claiming they had put her in an ordinary taxi. Now, not only do we lack sufficient evidence to file a case, but we also need to cooperate with the investigation into the theft of Howard's jewelry. The situation is very unfavorable for us. I'm so angry I could burst. I originally thought that someone like Howard, who dared to forcibly abduct people in broad daylight, his mind was filled with nothing but colorful pigments, and the rest was useless grass. Unexpectedly, this time he not only came fully prepared but also turned the tables and bit back. I angrily hung up the phone. Before I could even think about how to deal with the current situation, suddenly, I heard Sophia exclaim in surprise. "Mom, come quickly and look at this video." It was a video titled, "Female College Student Schemes to Seduce Rich Second Generation for Money." In just a few seconds of footage, the girl with her face blurred lay on the hotel bed, dazed. She tugged at her collar, revealing a glimpse of her fair neck. There wasn't a single explicit or suggestive scene, yet paired with that malicious title, the comments section immediately erupted. Someone started leaking information. "I know this person. She's a first-year student at the police academy across the street, seems to be called Sophia." Someone started steering the narrative. "I've seen this girl before, she looks quite flirtatious. Didn't expect she's really in this line of work." Some even shared personal anecdotes. "This is a part-time employee from our coffee shop. After our dinner gathering yesterday, we put her in a taxi, but she secretly went to the rich second generation's hotel in the middle of the night." That's right. I can vouch for it. She's usually someone who can drink endlessly without getting drunk, but yesterday she got drunk so quickly. Turns out she was in a hurry. The string of vulgar comments made me want to curse. My hands were shaking with anger. I wished I could crawl through the internet and smash the heads of those spreading rumors. But now is not the time to panic. The top priority is to calm down and find a way to solve the problem. At the very least, delete the video first. I took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. I was about to say something to calm her down first. Just then, a ding-dong sound signaled another text message arriving on her phone. "Do you like the gift? If not, you can exchange it for something I want." A message sent from a virtual number, set to self-destruct after reading. No need to guess. It's clearly Howard's doing. I don't believe the current Sophia would be afraid or respond to his threats and bribes like the heroine in the original story. But I couldn't help but look at her expression. I had thought that a 19-year-old girl, encountering such a thing for the first time, would surely panic. She might even have cried. But not only did she not cry, her expression was even remarkably calm. She calmly turned off her phone and looked at me. Her gaze was firmer than ever before. "Mom, you're right. Bugs are everywhere, and I need to learn to protect myself." She paused, as if making up her mind, and said solemnly, "It's not me who's in the wrong. If I give in to public pressure and compromise today, he will surely use these despicable tactics to coerce more girls in the future. So not only will I not give him what he wants, I'm going to confront him head-on." "Mom, this is how I protect myself. My gut tells me that confronting him head-on isn't the best way to solve the problem. But reason is screaming, no matter the method, no matter the outcome, it's her own choice, since I must let go. Let her find her own way to protect herself. Then I must respect her decision." I thought when she said, "confront directly," she meant going straight to Howard for a face-off. These past few days, I've been feeling uneasy in my heart, yet a few days later, I suddenly saw her response video with her face revealed trending on the hot search list. In the video, she was wearing the uniform of the Public Security Academy. Her face was free of makeup, giving her an air of upright integrity. She recounted the events with clarity, how Howard had attempted to abduct her during their first meeting, and how she had suddenly lost consciousness during their second dinner, only to wake up in a hotel room before I broke in to rescue her. She even included footage from the dashcam of the car I had rented. One by one, she refuted comments claiming she had been put in a taxi or gone to the hotel willingly. Finally, to conclude, publicly spreading rumors has already violated my personal right to reputation. I will, in accordance with relevant laws, file lawsuits against the accounts that posted the video and those that distorted the facts. I will also cooperate with the police and Mr. Howard in investigating the jewelry theft case. I believe that justice will always prevail over darkness and will never be absent." In the dashcam footage, she was seen being escorted into a black car and later carried into a hotel by several men in black. The images were crystal clear, even sharper than the paparazzi's tabloid shots. It thoroughly debunked all the baseless rumors and bandwagon criticisms. Because of this video, the tide of public opinion instantly shifted. Some mock the evils of capitalism, some go crazy on those accounts that stir up drama. Others stubbornly refuse to believe it. The arguments are endless. I didn't bother reading through those comments, just kept staring at Sophia's face in the video over and over. Suddenly, I felt a sense of, my little girl has grown up, anxiety clouds judgment. These past few days, It never once occurred to me that there was such a thing as dashcam footage. I never expected her to be so meticulous. Indeed, you've grown up. My eyes stung a little, and I felt somewhat relieved. I was about to call her to praise her for doing well and also remind her not to let her guard down, but suddenly, I felt a warmth in my nose, and blood instantly stained my clothes red. Then came a sudden dizziness in my head. Before losing consciousness, only one thought remained in my mind: this damn plot. Can it really happen ahead of time? It felt like I was dreaming. In the dream, a 14-year-old girl stood on the rooftop. Smiling sweetly, the breeze gently kissed the hem of her skirt, making her look like a white butterfly ready to take flight at any moment. And indeed, she did fly. After turning back to smile at me, she leaped into the air, becoming the free butterfly she had always dreamed of being. I was awakened by the sound of the news broadcast on TV. When I woke up, I felt a moment of confusion. Above me, the blinding fluorescent light glared. Outside the door, a girl was sobbing. "Dr. Lucas, is my mother's condition really that serious?" The title, Dr. Lucas, felt like a bucket of cold water poured over my head, instantly snapping me back to reality and reminding me that I was still trapped in this highly dramatic and angsty novel. "Don't worry, the hospital will do everything possible. You don't need to stress too much about the costs. If you're facing difficulties, I can help cover the expenses for now. You can repay me whenever you're in a better financial situation," the gentle male voice softly soothed. Yet, because of these words, I found it hard to breathe. The plot had indeed advanced ahead of time. That third scumbag male lead, Lucas, who wasn't supposed to appear until a year later, he arrived early too. Lucas, a man completely different from the violent and perverted Charles Howard. In the original work, he was described as gentle, refined, and mild-mannered. Just one glance makes people unable to resist wanting to get close. But in reality, this person is a wolf in sheep's clothing. On the surface, he both spends money and exerts effort, being extremely attentive to the female lead. In truth, he was fully aware of Howard's actions toward the female lead. Time and again, he deliberately sent the female lead to his side. He did all this just to package himself as the female lead's only lifeline. Bit by bit, he made the female lead dependent on him, unable to leave him. In the original story, the female lead's mother went to Lucas to obtain the life-saving miracle drug. Time and again, opportunities were created for him to tempt the female lead. Recalling the original plot once more, I still feel that it's not me who's crazy, it's the author who's crazy. It's the values of this world that are problematic. In this novel, I will die. It's an unchangeable plot. I'm not that afraid of death. I just didn't expect the plot to progress so abruptly. In the original work, Charles was obsessed with raising others, his perversion glaringly obvious. Howard enjoys the forceful pursuit leading to a crematorium romance, his greasiness glaringly obvious. Only Lucas is deep and calculating, appearing as a perfect gentleman on the surface, seemingly treating the female lead exceptionally well, leaving no room for criticism. I truly want Sophia to learn how to discern whether sudden kindness contains genuine goodwill, but having just gone through the Howard incident, I don't want to overwarn her, making her see enemies everywhere and distrust everyone around her. I didn't want to stay in the hospital either, giving Lucas the chance to get close to Sophia. After a moment of thought, I pretended to have just woken up and let out a light cough. Sure enough, hurried footsteps sounded as the two of them entered one after the other. Lucas put on a good show, routinely asking about my symptoms and reassuring me it was nothing serious, telling me not to worry. I held Sophia's hand, speaking with hidden meaning. "People, life and death are fated. Everything is the best arrangement. No need to force it. Don't let those loan sharks or people with ulterior motives take advantage of the situation." Then, without even discussing it with her, I insisted on discharging her from the hospital right away. It happened so suddenly that I couldn't immediately think of how to teach Sophia to recognize and stay away from this kind of scum. I originally planned to ask for a few days off for her first. Let me also take a few days to think of a solution. But unexpectedly, less than 10 minutes after leaving the hospital, we were stopped by several cars. Before we could even call for help, we were both gagged and dragged into a car by over a dozen well-prepared men in suits. By the time we got out of the car, several hours had already passed. Suddenly exposed to light again, the brightness stung my eyes. Instinctively, I looked beside me, confirming that Sophia, like me, was only tied up and unharmed. I felt slightly relieved. When I finally caught my breath, I realized this was an abandoned warehouse. 20 or 30 burly, muscular men surrounded the warehouse tightly. At a glance, it was clear there was no chance of escaping by force. My heart sank slightly. Wow, the last time I saw such a spectacle was in a melodramatic TV series. Facing this kind of situation for the first time, even I felt somewhat intimidated. But in front of the child, I instinctively didn't want to show any fear. I thought a 19-year-old girl would definitely be scared in such a situation, but unexpectedly, she was much calmer than I imagined. She even had the composure to question the leader of the men in black. "Are you kidnapping us for money or to kill us?" The man in black remained silent. Responding to her were two male voices entering from outside the door. "A young girl's thoughts are indeed naive. In just half a day, my family's stock market value has halved. Tell me, should I seek wealth, or should I take your life?" Seeing Howard didn't surprise me much. After all, kidnapping is his usual style, but spotting Lucas behind him, the same Lucas I just met at the hospital half an hour ago, gave me a quiet start, because in the original story, these two had zero interaction beyond their subtle power struggles. My heart was beating a little fast. I hadn't figured it out yet. Nor had I fully processed when these two got together. From outside the door came another male voice, both unfamiliar and familiar. "The younger one is easy to handle, but the older one has too many variables. Let's deal with him first." The man walked in while speaking. It was actually Charles, whom I had reported and sent to prison 5 years ago. My breath tightened. In a flash, I suddenly remembered the moment I woke up in the hospital. The news was indeed broadcasting reports of a prisoner's escape. My heart sank heavily. Charles escaped from prison. Are these three people involved together? Has the plot completely deviated from the original work? What a triple shock. In the original, these three were love rivals, constantly scheming against each other, even if they eventually compromised for love and accepted each other's presence. That was also near the grand finale. Now, they've joined forces to kidnap me and Sophia. The only explanation is that all three of them have awakened self-awareness. My heart pounds like a drum. I felt both shocked and as if it was within reason. That's right, if I can transmigrate, the plot can also advance. What else is impossible? But understanding is one thing, and accepting is another. Watching the three men stride towards Sophia and me, I subtly shifted half a step forward, shielding her behind me, yet it was precisely this slight movement that suddenly drew a derisive snort from Charles. He stepped forward, gripping my chin with one hand. The gaze that fell upon my face was both probing and ruthless. "Thanks to you, I've had a pretty good time these years in prison. Just one thing I never figured out. Before the marriage, I never saw you care about your daughter. Why did you suddenly become a different person on the wedding day?" He was asking, but he didn't actually want an answer from me. Because as soon as he finished speaking, the Lucas behind him pushed up the gold-rimmed glasses on the bridge of his nose and answered for me with a smile at the corner of his lips. A sudden drastic change in temperament can have multiple causes. Medically speaking, it could be due to trauma or shock, all of which are related to mental illnesses. But today I examined her, and she doesn't have any such conditions. Perhaps she might be just like us, who knows? Lucas's words almost confirmed my suspicions. Before I could ponder further, why had they awakened? When did they awaken? Just then, Howard took a gun from the suited bodyguard and began fiddling with it. Why waste words with her? It's all because of her that the plot is now a complete mess. Whether she's like us or not, let's deal with her first. His tone was light, as if he wasn't discussing murder. The gun muzzle was even pointed at me. My heart sank violently. I knew I probably couldn't escape today, but I still didn't want to admit defeat. This is a society governed by law, and justice has long arms. Even if you kill us mother and daughter, you won't escape the punishment of the law. As soon as the words fell, they burst into uncontrollable laughter, as if they had heard some joke. It took them a long while to finally stop laughing. "Don't worry, we'll only kill you. We won't touch your daughter. Not only will we not touch her, we'll love her dearly. After all, once we have her, we can become the center of this world, and once we're the center of the world, what does the law even matter?" With that, not giving me time to be shocked, Howard pulled the trigger without hesitation. I didn't die. At the critical moment, a force from behind pushed me violently, causing me to stumble and fall to the ground, and that bullet missed slightly, grazing Sophia's hair before embedding itself in the wall behind her. Until now, only then did I see the expression on the face of the girl I was shielding behind me. Beyond the lingering fear from that bullet, she showed no panic, no fear. His gaze, fixed directly on the three of them, was clear and resolute, calm beyond what one would expect from someone who had just turned 19. Love is about respect, understanding, and acceptance. It's not about one person becoming another's appendage. Nor should it be tainted by impure motives. With just the few of you here, talking about love, do you even qualify? She scoffed lightly and stepped forward, shielding me behind her. Although, I don't know where your theory comes from, that obtaining me would make you the center of the world, but you've also given me a warning. Since you've obtained me, you can become the center of this world, even disregarding the law. Then, does that mean as long as I firmly believe in law and justice, this world will always remain a society governed by the rule of law? As she spoke these words, I couldn't see her expression, but I could imagine what kind of light was shimmering in her eyes at that moment. These words stirred my heart with surging emotions, and caused the three people opposite to change their expressions in unison. Yet her words were not finished. She paused, then spoke with unprecedented firmness. I believe the law can curb the evil in human nature and reduce crime rates. I also believe the law will not let any guilty person escape. For example, fugitives who molest minors, criminals who abduct women with intent to assault, and accomplices who assist in kidnapping with the intent to silence witnesses. As she spoke these words, her gaze swept over the three people opposite her one by one. My heart swells with a tumult of emotions. I can't tell if it's relief or bitterness. I only feel a warmth rising behind my eyes, barely holding back tears. I gaze at the girl before me. She has grown up, no longer the child who hid behind me, saying she was afraid, nor the naive and innocent girl whose every concern I wanted to take care of, and certainly not the heroine from the original story. Insecure, withdrawn, timid, starved for love, and easily swayed in thoughts and emotions. Obviously, the three people opposite also understood this point. Howard's tone was sinister. Do you think a few words from you can change the outcome? Of course I know a few words can't change anything. Sophia's voice was firm and resolute. So, when I released the video and actively cooperated with the jewelry theft case, I applied for a location tracker. I also discussed with my roommate that if I didn't call her every 2 hours, she would call the police immediately. As if to confirm her words, the moment she finished speaking, a man in black rushed in frantically. Boss, there are a lot of police cars outside. The police moved swiftly, surrounding the abandoned warehouse in the blink of an eye. Hearing the loudspeaker outside urging them to surrender and receive leniency, the three individuals across from them finally showed signs of panic. Howard, the most impulsive, immediately tried to rush out the door, but Charles, being a fugitive, knew that stepping outside meant only one outcome, so he naturally refused. He wanted to take a gamble, using me and Sophia as hostages to break out, but Lucas refused. He frowned and raised an eyebrow, saying in a deep voice, "So far, I don't have any substantial evidence of guilt. Why should I risk my life with you?" A makeshift team formed for temporary cooperation. What trust could there possibly be? The three of them turned on each other, immediately erupting into an argument. I was delighted to see the three of them quarreling, while none of them were paying attention. I quietly moved closer to Sophia. Using the glass shards picked up from the ground when we fell, we cut each other's ropes binding our hands. I signaled her with my eyes to stay quiet, held her hand, and slowly guided her toward the door. We were just 2 or 3 meters away, almost reaching the door. Suddenly, a startled cry rang out. "Boss, they're getting away." The three people in the argument snapped awake instantly. Even the dozens of suited, burly men who had been distracted by the police instinctively gave chase. "Run!" I shouted loudly, grabbing Sophia's hand and sprinting away, but when I looked back, I saw Howard, consumed by rage, raising his gun toward us. The muzzle was indiscernibly aimed at who, yet my heart skipped a beat. Almost instinctively, I shielded Sophia and exclaimed, "Watch out." I seemed to be in a strange state, though my body lay on the ground, covered in blood, yet my consciousness seemed to have a god's eye view, watching the police file in and subdue the three scumbags. I saw Sophia desperately trying to cover my wound, crying helplessly, "Mom, wake up, I'm scared, don't leave me alone. Someone help her, please help her." Watching her hold the shell I had used for 5 years in her arms, feeling the warmth gradually fade away, she murmured absent-mindedly, "I actually knew all along that you weren't my mom. My mom never protected me, nor did she teach me how to protect myself. Weren't you sent by heaven to save me? I haven't learned anything yet. Wake up. Get up, and keep teaching me." I don't know if it's because I'm about to die, the scene before my eyes is fading, and her voice is growing fainter, yet my emotions are becoming increasingly calm, every little moment from these past 5 years, and all the events from my previous life, like a revolving lantern, images flashed through my mind, making me sigh softly. Actually, I also have so much I want to say. I want to tell Sophia to stick to her principles and choices. And to always find ways to protect herself first, no matter what. I also want to tell her that while there are certainly bad people in this world, good people will always outnumber them, so she shouldn't be afraid. But what I most want to say is actually an I'm sorry. Because I'm not as good as she thinks I am, though I feel for her and want to free her from the original plot. I also have my own selfish motives, and my selfish wish is for that sister who shared the same fate as her, just as I told her. In such cases, over 80% are committed by someone the victim knows. My sister was no exception. That man was her tutor. At first, she just resisted tutoring. Later, her temper gradually became irritable. She became withdrawn, developed an aversion to school, and started learning to smoke and play video games. Her mother passed away early, and I worked in another city. By the time my father and I realized, it was already too late. For 2 whole years, that scumbag threatened her with those disgusting videos. He made her too afraid to call the police or tell her family. He crushed her will to live, and clutching her pregnancy test results, she jumped from the rooftop. She was only 14 years old when she died. Still a minor, I have regretted it countless times. If only I had noticed earlier, or if I had taught her about safety and how to protect herself sooner, would the outcome be different? Every time I look at Sophia, I can't help but imagine, what would my sister be like if she were still alive? She'd probably be as tall as her by now, right? But there are no ifs. Even if I make up for my guilt and regrets towards my sister through Sophia, no matter which world it is, time that has passed is gone. There's no starting over. I have so much to say, but I can't even utter a single goodbye. Sophia's figure before me grows increasingly blurred. My consciousness is gradually fading too. Before my awareness vanishes, only one thought remains. Sure enough, those TV dramas where people get shot and still manage to deliver a bunch of last words are all lies. Beep, beep, beep. The piercing sound of medical equipment and the scent of disinfectant filled my ears and nose. In a daze, I heard someone speaking. Kathy, the car accident victim, has passed the critical stage. Notify the family and transfer her out of the ICU tomorrow. Kathy, who is Kathy? I endured the headache and thought hard for a while. Oh, it seems like it's me. On the 3rd day of waking up, I used my new phone to search for that novel from my memory. Before I could even open a chapter, I was amused by the comments in the discussion section. I paid for excitement, not for a lecture. The male lead died so early, tricked me into coming to class. Author, you really got me. It feels like I'm seeing the growth path of a strong female lead, and it also feels like I'm seeing myself. Recalling Sophia's personality, I can roughly guess what the story has become. Click to flip through. Just as I expected, Sophia is still the female lead, but the 50% driving scenes are gone now. Only her stories of fighting crime, outsmarting villains, and rescuing and protecting citizens. The death of Mom had dealt her a blow for a period of time, but she always stuck to her choices and grew step by step. At the end of the story, she got married and had 2 children. The year her children started kindergarten, holding her son and daughter's hands, she patiently taught them, "Sweethearts, remember, the areas covered by your clothes. No one but mommy is allowed to touch them, no matter what danger you encounter. Your top priority is to protect yourselves." Sexual crimes happen every day. Don't think sex education is too early, because criminals won't think children are too young. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.